welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Osa. So we're going to have a little bit of fun today in this video. And this video is going to be a reaction video of an old episode I did way back around, July, I think, of 2018. But it wasn't released until September, but enough of the schematics. This episode is our second episode of the podcast, and what we called, I think the AF's website, I forgot. But in that episode, we had one of our good friends come on the show, Shaq. So this episode is strictly just about, the genders and how they basically interact with one another. There was a good balance for both sides here. But one of the main things I was talking about on the episode, which should be up top here, we'll get a card over there, so you guys can check out the full episode. One of the things I mentioned in the full episode was how dating has kind of been skewed for men, and especially during these, especially with the rise of these dating apps, and how before maybe they were made with good intentions, but now they're not so much. Now it's more of a what they like to call it again, an extension of social media per se, right? So it's more like an extension for social media now. Still, it's getting worse. Like if it was that bad now, it's getting a lot worse today, and it's hard. But anyhow, one of the videos I'm going to react to is actually a video that I took a clip of back then to kind of promote the episode, which was called it's going to be the card up here too, which was also called how men and women approach dating, right? So in that video, I was making an argument. Me and Shaq were going back and forth, and I was making the argument of how men do a lot of approaching, right? Because we're always the ones, putting our necks out on the line, putting ourselves out there, and actually, making an approach with knowing the fact that we can get rejected. Shaq's argument was with the women's perspective of how they're constantly throwing their what's at them constantly over and over. This is through dating apps, social medias, different accounts, LinkedIn accounts, you name wherever you can socialize, men are throwing themselves at women constantly. My argument for that was that with us guys, we are, and I think I wasn't really clear at that point, but for us guys, we are kind of like in a position, once you get over the fact of the whole approaching thing, right? Because that's a whole nother, level of things. That's how you get past approaching before you get to the level of now you can basically get whatever chick you want. And I'm not even saying that just to be cocky or anything like that, but you have the ability to actually literally go, just because you can approach anyone, really. And we're not saying on some creepy shit, like, oh, you're following this chick for like blocks on end, or you were like freaking stalking this chick, or you went on Facebook. Like, no, not on some creepy shit. No creepy shit. Like some real gentleman stuff where you come in as a, as a chill dude. You introduce yourself. You have a conversation. Like, that's just what it is at the end of the day. And obviously there's a lot more to it that I won't get into here, but basically, once you get over that and you're now like constantly comfortable with meeting people and start striking up conversations, basically, like the whole city is yours, honestly. Which is why it's important as a guy for you, right, to learn skills of communication skills, right? Having better communication skills so that you can actually meet the people you want to meet the people that want to meet you, and you're not feeling sort of stuck with the options that you have. So you want to be able to expand your options. That's all that is to it. Just be able to expand your options and not be stuck with what kind of comes at your way. Because I know a lot of guys settle most of the time, and dudes are not happy, and this, that, and the third, a whole bunch of nonsense going on there. But yeah, that's what basically approaching is for guys. Now, for the ladies aspect of it, Shaq's argument was that the amount of men come at them is insane. Of course, it's not going to approach, right? And which he's absolutely correct. Like, if you were to ask, if you have friends that are girls, ask them like, hey, let me see your Facebook, see your Instagram, see one of the, even if you want to see some of their dating apps, you go ahead and see them. Like, Let me see like some of the messages that some of these guys are saying. Like, you know, you got dick pics out there. You got dudes saying hey, multiple dudes saying hey constantly in their messages. I mean, they're basically overwhelmed with guys just trying to get their attention, knocking at their door, sending messages, a whole bunch of unsolicited pictures, a whole bunch of unsolicited messages that they, you know, even after the first message when they even get ignored, the guy's still chucking away with like, hey, 2 months later, hey, 5 months later, hey, next day, hey, like, jeez, like, you know. So, you know, there's some sympathy there you got to feel for them. So like even but also like to also see it in another angle, what's the point of approaching? What's the point of approaching, right? There's no point of it. There's no point for them to approach because hey, if they really wanted it, they could hit up with Henry over on their Facebook DMs who's been dying to go ahead and freaking get a chance with that chick, get a chance with her. Boom, hit him up, be like, hey, shit, you down to come through? And he's driving there in 5-10 minutes. That's easy, right? So that was my argument of how it's kind of a little bit more challenging for the guy, but at the same time, like, and this is how, you know, how I'm thinking right now. At the same time, as you as a guy, although you are in the more vulnerable position when you are approaching more than it is with the girls because they can sit back and it'd be good because their options is always there. It's always going to be there. It's always going to be options for them to take. But you as a guy, you got to put yourself out there in order to create the options, basically, right? But once you learn that you're able to create these options, the city is yours, the country, the world, whatever. However you want to expand your reach, it's yours for the taking. As long as you be respectful, and you're not, you know, being overzealous with it, and you're not being creepy with it. Like there's dudes out there that are really like, you know, like you look at some of them and you're just like, oh, like what, like nasty. Why would you do some shit like that, right? There are dudes like that, and there's dudes who do struggle with this too. Like they try it out, and they get rejected, and it's like, oh, you know, fuck women, fuck this, fuck that. There's still dudes struggling with trauma. You're a little bit game right now, right? There's still things called sticky points where there's certain things that certain characteristics or traits that one guy might have where it's kind of stopping them from growth or growing in their communications and how they interact with the public. So these sticking points can be a slew of things. I'm not really going to get into all of them. There's a lot, but this is some of the stuff that guys, you know, they have to figure out what it is and then work towards not, you know, having that as a problem anymore. I was kind of talking to or referring to back in that video, right? So back then, that's back. So right, so that was back then. Now, I still feel the same way a little bit. Women still definitely have it easier, you know, for sure. But what I've also noticed is that, and I said it kind of back then too, that women are limited to whoever they come to most of the time, unless they see someone that is worth going and approaching themselves, and that's very rare because a lot of women are not going to put the necks out there like that to get rejected. No, like rejection is one of the. It's not easy, even for guys like that do this, right? Like even rejection does, like, you know, does hit them. I know some guys that do it. It's like, yo, that shit sucks. Like that's not, you know, that shit sucks. But they've learned to kind of numb the pain a little bit, or numb that feeling of like being rejected by someone that they thought they can get with. But you know, hey, that comes with time. That comes with experience. That comes with a whole slew of things and kind of acceptance a little bit of who you are, and it's a certain mindset that you need to have for that, anyways. And for women, I know it's easy. They can easily just sit back, you know, chill out, and somebody will comfort them. Somebody will. I mean, the way their social media messages are set up, it still is today. It might even be worse now thanks to the pandemic. Nobody's going anywhere. So nobody's going anywhere until maybe recently. Now, you know, people are going out now. But I know during the pandemic, when it was at its height, it had to be horrid. Probably no one in their DMs right now really has a legit shot at them. Like, if you want to talk about a legit shot, though, I won't put that. I won't say they have. But also Shaq also said that we can't really talk about it in a woman's perspective, which is fine, which is true, absolutely. Like I know, there's also their point of view and how they view dating and dating as a whole, really. So one of the biggest changes I've made, I think, if we're being honest, one of the biggest changes I made from back then to now, it's my understanding for what women actually go through. It might sound a little conceited, but no. I think it's kind of important that we understand what both sides of both the guys and the girls go through, and that's with that type of understanding we'll make better decisions on how we actually go about finding partners and how we go about actually finding the right fit for both us men and women. All right, so because I always think at the end of the day, it really comes down to who's the best fit for you individually. You know, sometimes compromises for certain things aren't the greatest. I know there's certain stuff you can compromise for, but there's also certain stuff that one party might not really be prepared to compromise for, and that just means that shouldn't mean that person doesn't love you the fullest to not compromise for it. That just means you guys are just not the right fit for each other. That's just what that means at the end of the day. So go in with the mind of looking for the right fit instead of trying to fit a circle peg in a square hole. It's never going to work, and it's just stupid at the end of the day. All right, and that's a pun. You can take that. All pun intended. All pun intended. All right. So was I wrong? Absolutely not. I was absolutely correct. I'm still correct. Shaq was also correct too. Actually, this is actually, to be honest, we both were right. We were both completely correct, and it still kind of stands today, really. There's a lot more to it that I might discuss later on in later videos or in another topic. But yeah, both of us were correct. I was not wrong. He was not wrong. It still kind of stands today. That's the video. Hope you guys enjoyed that video. If you did, just click the like button down below, or the dislike button, either or. If you dislike it, it's okay. Comment on the video, whatever other comments that you think of. Was I way off, or was I still right? Comment down on the video, comment down below, or anything else, either or. Share the video as well. Subscribe if you're not subscribed to the channel already. Hit the bell next to the subscribe button if you have not already, so that you get notifications for the content that I'm coming out from. And that'll be the video. All right, we're still pumping out videos. I'll catch you guys next week. Until then, take care. Up on the quarter century, not up the penitentiary. Just up north, take a right. Oh wait, that's the cemetery. Rest in peace to the unknowns and the greats well known. Just knowing that 2 force couldn't get to see his work be fully grown. The most poetic yet humble.